The last sun's return. The Arctic wind howled across the barren white expanse, snow swirling like ghostly specters in the frozen air. In the heart of the ice-covered wasteland stood a lone figure, his vibrant red cape billowing against the elements. The man was unmoved by the biting cold. His piercing blue eyes were fixed on the horizon, his thoughts far beyond the frozen tundra before him. Superman had returned to the Fortress of Solitude. It had been a year since Kal-El, the last son of Krypton, had found himself at this very spot. A year since he had first sensed a disturbance in the vast silence of space, a whisper carried on the cosmic winds, hinting at an impending danger unlike anything Earth had faced before. He had prepared himself for a battle he could barely understand, until now. As he stepped forward, his boots crunched against the packed ice. The fortress was near, hidden from the sight of ordinary men, yet it beckoned to him like a familiar embrace. His fingers brushed against an unseen panel, and with a low hum, the ice parted, revealing the crystalline wonder within. Towers of shimmering blue and silver stretched toward the ceiling, reflecting light like distant stars in a frozen galaxy. Jor-El's voice, calm and measured, echoed through the chamber as a holographic projection flickered to life. "My son," it began, "the time has come." Superman clenched his fists. He had always known that his father's messages carried wisdom from a long-lost world, but this time, there was urgency in his words. "A great shadow stirs," Jor-El continued. "One that threatens not only this planet but the very balance of the universe." Superman's brow furrowed. He had fought titans before, had stood against gods and monsters. What could be so dangerous that even his father's hologram spoke of it with dread? Before he could ask, a tremor rippled through the fortress. The crystals pulsed with an unnatural energy, and suddenly, the chamber was filled with a blinding light. When it faded, a rift had opened in the air before him, a portal to somewhere else. Somewhere far away. Superman took a cautious step forward, peering through the rift. What he saw sent a chill down his spine, colder than the Arctic air outside. A city, burning. Skyscrapers crumbling under the weight of destruction. The sky, once blue, was now an eerie shade of crimson, streaked with unnatural lightning. And in the center of it all stood a figure, his silhouette outlined by the carnage he had wrought. The name came to Superman's lips like a curse. Brainiac. The alien intelligence had haunted Krypton before its destruction, consuming worlds in his endless quest for knowledge and power. Now, he had set his sights on Earth. Superman wasted no time. With a single bound, he propelled himself into the portal, the shimmering gateway closing behind him as he rocketed toward the battlefield. As he emerged on the other side, the heat of the flames replaced the Arctic chill. The screams of terrified civilians rang in his ears, and above them all, a voice spoke, a voice devoid of emotion, yet heavy with authority. "You are predictable, Kal-El." Superman turned, and there he was. Brainiac. The artificial being stood tall, his exoskeletal frame gleaming in the flickering light. His eyes, cold and calculating, studied Superman as though he were an insect under a microscope. "You fight for a world that will never truly be your own," Brainiac mused. "A planet of fragile creatures, bound by weakness and sentiment." Superman's jaw clenched. "You don't understand humanity." Brainiac tilted his head. "Perhaps. But I do understand that they are inefficient. They waste their potential. I will correct that." With a flick of his wrist, metallic tendrils shot out from Brainiac's back, lashing towards Superman with terrifying speed. He dodged the first strike, then the second, before seizing one of the appendages in his grip and tearing it free with a burst of strength. Brainiac barely flinched. Instead, he raised a hand, and from his fingertips erupted a pulse of energy that sent Superman hurtling through the remains of a nearby building. Dust and rubble rained down as Superman pushed himself back to his feet, his eyes burning with determination. He knew Brainiac was powerful, perhaps even more powerful than before. But Earth was his home. These people were his family, and he would not let this monster take them. With a burst of speed, he shot toward Brainiac, fists clenched. Their battle shook the very foundation of the city, blows exchanged faster than the human eye could perceive. Sparks flew as metal clashed against flesh, and with each strike, Superman could feel the weight of the responsibility he carried. The battle raged for what felt like an eternity. Brainiac's drones swarmed the sky, his ships looming like storm clouds over the city. But Superman would not falter. With each passing moment, he fought harder, pushing himself beyond his limits. Then, in a final act of defiance, Superman soared high above the city, past the clouds, past the atmosphere itself. The sun, golden and warm, bathed him in its light, revitalizing him. Energy surged through his veins, and with a roar, he plummeted back to Earth like a comet. His fists met Brainiac's chest with the force of 1,000 storms. The impact sent shockwaves across the battlefield, shattering Brainiac's armor, disrupting his systems. Sparks flew from his body as he staggered backward, his expression unreadable. "This is not possible," Brainiac rasped. Superman narrowed his eyes. "You underestimate humanity. You underestimate me." With one final strike, he drove Brainiac into the ground, the villain's mechanical body crumpling under the force. The remaining drones faltered, their control severed. The invasion was over. As the dust settled, Superman stood tall, his chest rising and falling with heavy breaths. The city was wounded, but it was not broken. And neither was he. As he looked toward the horizon, the sun beginning to rise in the distance, he knew this was only the beginning. Because as long as Earth needed a protector, Superman would be there,